Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video is a quick preview and prediction, I guess, for Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga. Canelo's WBC and WBO super middleweight titles will be on the line. And let's be honest, he is a resounding favourite in this fight. This will be Mexico versus Puerto Rico, one of the storied rivalries in boxing, and I'm sure that's going to generate a good atmosphere where this fight goes down, which is in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. I'm sure the atmosphere is going to be lit, but this fight is certainly not on the level of someone like Salvador Sanchez versus Wilfredo Gomez. Listen, I think most neutral boxing fans would have been very disappointed when this fight was announced. For me at least, it feels like Canelo is treading water at 168. He's not really been involved in any compelling matchups recently. The Munguia fight was okay in my opinion, but aside from that, his recent run at 168 post Caleb Plant has been pretty boring. A 40-year-old Golovkin who never came to fight, dull. John Ryder, out of his depth, dull. Jamel Charlo never came to fight, coming up 2 weight classes. The Munguia fight was a bit interesting, but overall, you look at Canelo's recent fights and they've been pretty dull, pretty boring, you know? All fights in which we believed he would win. And this one is no different. In fact, Berlanga is the least credible opponent he's fought, I would say, since Avni Yildirim. He's not as bad as Avni Yildirim, don't get it twisted, but he's the least qualified opponent he's fought since then. You look at Edgar Berlanga, and I have to say, I look at this guy and I ask myself, what interesting attributes does this guy bring to the table? What skill set does he bring to the table? What does he do well? What does he excel at? I'm struggling, I really am. I see a Bobby Basic fighter who essentially has got by on raw strength, size, and a bit of punching power. That's really it. You know, ever since his rise when he was with Top Rank, he scored a lot of first round knockouts over smaller opponents. They were trying to hype him up to be the next big thing. And early on, you know, the matchmaking was very deceptive because it made Berlanga look to be this monster puncher, this killer, this roadman killer. But in reality, those fights really did flatter him, you know. I think he won his first 16 fights by knockout in the first round. Like, it was a crazy little run he had. And as a result, that generated a fair bit of hype at the time, in fact. And yeah, there were hopes that he would be Puerto Rico's next big thing. Ultimately, he's gone on since then, and he's flattered to deceive. When we've seen this guy go rounds, we realise all he is size, strength, and a little bit of power. You know, it all started with the Demond Nicholson fight. That was an 8-rounder. Demond Nicholson took him all 8 rounds. Got dropped a couple of times. But it really showcased Berlanga's lack of creativity in terms of offense when a guy doesn't fall over. After the Demond Nicholson fight, he fought Marcelo Cosieres, a guy who is a gatekeeper at 168. Gave Billy Joe a good fight way back in the day. And in that fight, Cosieres really exposed Berlanga's basic style. You know, Berlanga following him around in straight lines, loading up on punches, winding himself, getting outboxed in many rounds. He realised it was a close fight. Then he gets desperate. He gets dropped towards the end of that fight by Cosieres, a non-puncher. And somehow he ends up winning the decision. Many people, including myself, felt Cosieres beat Edgar Berlanga. And Cosieres is a non-punching gatekeeper. After that, he fought Steve Rolls, a Golovkin victim, who was close to 40 years old. Another competitive fight, went 10 rounds. You know, went the distance with Roma, Alexis Angulo. Even went the distance against Jason Quigley, who's an Irish fighter. Jason Quigley got knocked out in 2 rounds by Demetrius Andrade. He got knocked out by Turiano Johnson, and this monster puncher, Edgar Berlanga, couldn't stop him. Again, highlighting Berlanga's lack of creativity in terms of offense. You know, it's all forced. There's no method behind the madness. There's no feints, there's no setup. It's just pure ruthless aggression. And that will get you by at a certain level, you know. You'll get by with that at a certain level when you're fighting journeymen, small gatekeepers, those sort of guys. But you'll get by just based on that. And he has. But in those fights where his opponents have shown a little more durability, a little bit of resistance, I've not seen any adjustments from Berlanga from an offensive point of view to try and force a stoppage. I haven't seen this guy change anything up. I haven't seen this guy's defense get better. He's the same old guy, just bulldozes forwards, swings in hooks, swings for jab, right hand, left hook, tries to go to the body. He's an extremely basic fighter, and he's a fighter in which is made for Canelo Alvarez. Sometimes those of us with a keen eye will ask the question, is this opponent coming to fight against Canelo? I actually don't think it matters if he does or not. He's got no chance. He could come to fight. He's a blank canvas for Canelo. Way too many defensive openings, way too basic in his approach, same combinations over and over again, follows his man around in straight lines, body is open, porous high guard, slow jab, slow combinations, overrated power, basic, predictable, and Canelo will read him like a book. Like I said, he's a blank canvas to make Canelo look good. And I think Canelo will look good in this fight, to be honest with you. I think he will look good. If he doesn't, I think there has to be questions asked about where Canelo is right now, you know? Because Berlanga is so basic. So basic. Super middleweight isn't all that strong right now, but is this guy even top 10 in the division? Outside of Canelo, I would rate Mbili ahead of him. I'd rate Munguia ahead of him. Iglesias, the Cuban, ahead of him. Pacheco ahead of him. Even Andrade, who I don't rate, I'd rate him over Berlanga. Pavel Silyagin, Vladimir Shishkin, those guys are arguably better. Lester Martinez, you know, William Skull. These guys are all arguably better than Berlanga, to my eye anyway. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if any of those guys beat him who I mentioned. Benavidez, if you still count him as a 168-pounder. So, this one's a really disappointing fight, in my opinion. I expect Canelo to win. I expect him to dominate. The only real intrigue I have is how durable is Berlanga. Can he sustain the assault? Can he see himself to the later rounds? Can he make the decision? Aside from that, I don't see him winning this fight. I don't see a guy with a great skill set. I don't see a guy who really utilizes his size in a way, in a smart way, you know? I just see brawn over brains. And ultimately, that isn't going to be enough. I have Canelo winning this fight. I have Canelo winning this fight well. I have Canelo stopping Berlanga late rounds, I think. Late rounds. He is bigger, Berlanga. He is a lot bigger. That's going to keep him in the fight for a little bit. But the guy has no discernible world-level skills, quite frankly. And Stevie Wonder could see that, to be honest with you. But yeah, anyway, share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Delboy. Peace!